Original Firefighter is the podcast and apparel brand that celebrates the heritage and traditions of the American Fire Service. Join us each week for lively discussions that aim to inspire, educate, and entertain, all in the effort to support mental health and well-being for first responders. Please subscribe, hit that bell, and follow us wherever you listen. Let's get into the show. Hey folks, welcome back to the Original Firefighter Podcast. I am your host, Will Peterson, and this week we are excited to share highlights from FDIC 2025. In 2.5 days, Original Firefighter was able to record 20 conversations that we're going to show as part of our involvement with FDIC, and we were so excited to be a part of it. We were one of 800 vendors. There was nearly 40,000 firefighters that attended FDIC, and we had so many people come by our booth and just give us their stories and engage with us. It was a great experience. So these are some of the highlights. If you could, go over to YouTube, hit that subscribe button at our channel, Original Firefighter, and as always, be safe. Enjoy this episode. Hey guys, we're here with Lauren with Roth ID Tag.
Yes.
And Lauren, how you doing? How's FDIC going?
This is great. This is my first FDIC.
Oh, that's awesome.
Like, the energy is palpable, and I'm just so excited to be here.
Yeah. Tell us about what your product is or what you guys are all about.
So we developed the first universal emergency contact identification system for car seats and booster seats, so that if a parent or caregiver is incapacitated or unable to speak, first responders can locate the Roth ID Tag. They can easily identify the child and reach their emergency contacts.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
Yeah, thank you.
That's great.
Thank you. So,
how'd you come up with the idea?
Unfortunately, as most, innovation born from tragedy. So on December 23rd, 2022, my sister was on her way to our family Christmas and was killed in a 47 vehicle pileup. And luckily her 4 and 5-year-old in the backseat survived, but they were unidentified for over 5 hours when they were 10 minutes from their entire extended family because it was Christmas. So it took over 5 hours for them to identify her children and reach their dad, who luckily was at work that day. And then we were able to get to them, and it took over 10 hours to identify my sister's body and let us know that she didn't survive. So the next day, saddest Christmas of my life, my mom just looked at me and said, if only their information was on their car seats. And my son was 2 at the time, so I said, I got to do this right now. And we learned that there wasn't a universal product out there that both parents and first responders could trust. So we made it.
First of all, I'm sorry for your loss, of course, and thank you for sharing your story. That tag, so it goes on the child, the car seats.
Yes.
Okay.
So it looks like this.
Yeah. Okay. Yep.
Parents fill out the back of it with identifying information and 3 emergency contacts. And then what they do is they peel those 2 side strips, and it sticks on the car seat facing in, so it keeps that information private. But then in an emergency, first responders pull at the red arrow, and it removes, and it becomes a wristband, so that no matter how chaotic the scene is,
that's good,
that information goes with them. So we learned a lot. We're now a team of mostly all my employees are child passenger safety technicians. Yeah. And we worked with actually the first responders that recovered my niece and nephew from the vehicle, and they were just a wealth of information, firefighters. And they told us essentially everything they would have needed. And we learned that, of course, they try to stabilize children in their car seats. In our situation, my sister had a Kia Rio that was pinned between 2 semis, so they couldn't take their car seats, and they would have never had the time to transcribe that information if it had just been a sticker. So we knew it needed to remove and go right on their wrist.
Something I'd like to offer is if we could take a couple of those with us, we'll talk about it on a future podcast.
I would love that.
On a lengthier one. We're actually going to be able to do remote podcast episodes. We could actually connect with you.
I would absolutely love that.
And have you come in remotely. It'd be really easy.
That would be great.
You got a great thing here. It is, first of all, it is very tough on the first responders to have to deal with young children, of any age really, but especially the ones that are in car seats. And I think that anything that makes it easier for us to be able to connect their youngest precious ones to their loved ones is all the help in the world. What's the training element to it when you are trying to connect this with first responders, fire departments? Do you do you host a seminar for them, like a Zoom-in meeting, or do you go on site and train?
A little bit of everything. So we've done a lot of events where we go on site and we do training. Luckily, it's a pretty simple product. It's very easy to understand. A lot of our actual stories that we're getting from the field are first responders who hadn't even heard about it yet. We've been on the market for less than a year, but they saw the tag, they knew what to do, and the child had family waiting at the hospital before the child even got there.
Yes.
So we're already getting these heartwarming stories, but we do go on site and train. We also do virtual training, and we just launched our self-guided training on our website. It's a short, easy video to watch. It's 5 simple questions to answer, and it's helping us quantify how many first responders that we have that are saying, yes, I will go look for this and I will utilize it in an emergency. It's something we developed to mitigate the trauma to children. I had no idea the trauma that we'd be mitigating for first responders. So when we launched, it was just me in my kitchen, and I was working the live chat on our website, and I would be up at 2:00 in the morning chatting with these first responders who were telling me their stories of sitting on the side of the road with a child and just the trauma to everybody with a hurting baby they couldn't help. And so just the overwhelming positive response we've gotten from the first responders that have been in those situations and who have now been in situations that are easier because of our product has just been, it's very therapeutic in dealing with our grief from our tragedy.
It's very ingrained in the sense of being a first responder, a firefighter, a police officer, a paramedic. The second that you assume a small child in your arms, you kind of take immediate responsibility for that person, that little one. So if you're able to, so long as they've gotten proper treatment, medical care, if they can be passed off to the family, as quickly as possible. One, there's a greater connection right there immediately. It feels better to be back together, and then that first responder can also move on and get to the next.
And they know what happened to the child. There's so often that they don't. And it's been awesome for us to get to work with the first responders that retrieved Rory and Ayla, because we've taken them back to the fire station. They've got to see how well they're doing now, which has just been, it's been really cathartic. Our mission is keeping families connected in emergency situations, and it's been
simple.
Honestly, we've achieved so much in less than a year because of the first responder, the firefighter community. We posted one simple video on social media just saying, hey, look for this. And it took off like wildfire, just with all these first responders saying, oh my gosh, we need this. So we're excited about it.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Lauren, it's been great to have you on the Original Firefighter podcast with us.
Thank you.
It's Roth ID Tag.
Yes.
And how can people find you guys?
RothIDTag.com is our website, and we are on all social media just at Roth ID Tag.
All right. Roth ID Tag. Thank you so much, Lauren.
Thank you.
Have a great FDIC show.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you. This is the Original Firefighter podcast, and with me I've got Gabe and I've got Mike. And Gabe, go ahead. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You're from Houston, Texas.
Yes, I'm from Houston, Texas. Firefighter with Houston Fire for 24 years. I work at Station 50 on the A shift. I also volunteer on the Texas Firefighter Home Board, and I also on the E board for the Houston Professional Firefighters, Local 341.
Okay, we appreciate what you do down there in Houston. And Mike?
I'm Mike Jensen, and I've been a volunteer firefighter 25 years. And my day job is I'm a professor with Washington State University. And one of the things that Gabe didn't mention about himself is that we refer to him as Angel Gabriel because of the work that he does with the Texas Firefighter Home. So I 4 years ago, I was diagnosed with multiple myeloma, presumptive from my early firefighting days, and both as a wildland firefighter and then as a structural volunteer firefighter.
Okay.
And when I contacted the National Firefighter Cancer Support Network, said, hey, we're going to MD Anderson in Houston. We need to plug into a fire station with our van. Next day, I get a call from the Angel Gabriel, and he asked me if my wife was going to be coming with me. He goes, I said yes. He goes, the hell you're going to stay at a fire station? You don't realize how busy we are.
Right.
And he said, wound up being that the Houston Fire Department, their professional union, paid for an RV spot for us for the first week that we're down there, getting everything in line with MD Anderson. Little did we know that 3 months after I was diagnosed, my wife Connie was diagnosed with esophageal cancer, and we both stayed and got treatment at MD Anderson and stayed at the Texas Firefighter home. So, I mean, we've been big supporters of the Texas Firefighter home ever since. I get to do the interviews with the firefighter families that stay there and help put together the video that we use for fundraising every year. But I wouldn't be here without Angel Gabe.
Gabe.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for sharing your story. And obviously we want to swing over here to Gabe because he's talking about the Texas Firefighter home, right? Yep. And tell us about what that is all about. How did you come up with that? So the Texas Firefighter home, currently we're at 6 apartments. We had the founder of the Texas Firefighter home was Captain Amaro Ponce. He's a Rotarian. He reached out to the International Rotary Group that's located there in Houston, Texas. They started the first home back in 2014, which was actually at the Jones Pavilion Hotel. They gave us 1 hotel room, and then it went to 2, and it just started growing. So we wanted to make people feel that they're back home. So we wanted to include a kitchen and give them the space. So we started looking at apartments, and we started with 2 apartments, and we've grown now to 6 apartments. We're trying to get to, our analysis shows us that we got to be at 8 to 10 apartments. Okay. And we're looking at that. Our vision is to build, but it's open to all firefighters, paid or volunteer, active or retired, and it opens up to our other brothers and sisters in blue, you know, okay, as well as EMS, you know, and we stay pretty busy. The firefighting job got classified, you know, as a Group 1 when it comes to the IR, you know, we're classified. Right. So that being said, we're getting exposed daily to, you know, carcinogens every single day on the job. Most of the firefighters that we get in Houston, and we've seen them, they're in their 30s. You know, cancer doesn't discriminate. We call it the never-ending fire, right? It's a battle that you have to take that journey on, and you got to be aggressive at it, just like when you're aggressive on the job. So, you know, my same passion is about firefighting. I want to take it to our brothers and sisters and make sure that what we want to do is remove that stress from them when we meet them there, because we wish we could cure cancer. You know, we had that power, you know, but the biggest thing that we found out that what we could do was one of the biggest stress, because we would get the phone calls out of our unit hall. Hey, what hotels, what are the rates, where do I go? And they're already battling the diagnosis. Right. We want to be able to say, you know what, we got a turnkey place for you.
And this is volunteers. I mean, we're talking about volunteers that Gabe does this on top of. He doesn't get paid to work the Texas Firefighter home. And all the other volunteers, not only from the fire service, but then from the community and from Rotary. It's phenomenal. I've never seen anything like this anywhere else in the country.
And just for clarity, you said that it's open to anybody in the country?
It is. So
how do you determine, you know, so did they have to be in the area to be getting treatment, to be staying at one of these houses, or how do you guys do that?
So the process is TexasFirefighterHome.org is our website. They'll go to the Texas Firefighter Home website. There's a lodging tab they can click on, and that lodging, they'll fill out that application. We ask for identification that we can correlate to the fire service. It can be from an ID badge, any type of identification that you have. Sure. It's the honor system, you know. Our brothers and sisters make calls every day in houses that have thousands of dollar watches laying out, you know. So we're going to trust our brothers and sisters. They just got to identify that they're a first responder, fill out that application. We have 2 ladies that also, like Mike said, they're volunteers. They'll get back to that firefighter or first responder within 24 to 48 hours, let them know which apartment they'll be staying at. And if they're very confused, we also have an ambassador program. One of our volunteers that will meet them at the apartment if needs to be, and she can get them set up. They're all turnkey, like we said. They got a full kitchen, pots, pans, microwave. They do have Wi-Fi. and it's about 0.7 from the Texas Medical Center. Like most of our firefighters end up going to MD Anderson because they're there for cancer treatment.
Yeah.
But there's other great hospital facilities as well that get used. We had a battalion chief out of California that had a newborn with a bunch of heart issues. He ended up staying at the apartment as well. So it's open to firefighters, immediate family, and their children.
Man, you guys are providing an amazing service, and I can't imagine the help that you're giving, not just physically, but mentally to those people.
Yeah, I can't tell you what that meant, to connect with Gabe and the fire department. And, I was in a position where as I was feeling better, I could start giving back. And so we actually worked with the Houston Fire Department with their wildland team, Justin Huddleston, and I've actually done some of the national training that I do in community wildfire mitigation with the Houston Fire Department and the Parks and Rec. And now they're actually putting prescribed fire on the ground in the city of Houston, not only to reduce the fuel loads, but then also to reduce the exotics that are that come into the parks area. So,
right.
I mean, I try to give back because I am so grateful for what they have done for me and my wife.
Yeah. There was a benefit that you got from it, right?
Yeah. And in the fire service,
I can tell the passion. I can tell.
Yeah. In the fire service, I mean, it's really hard for us to accept help from everybody, from anybody, including Gabe. But so I had to give back something.
Yes.
I really had to. And if this story touches folks, you can give money. You can help the Texas Firefighter Home expand what it's doing, not only, as Gabe said, for firefighters, but family members. And I can't tell you the number of firefighters that I've met in Texas through the Texas Firefighter Home who got diagnoses from their local area, pretty much get your affairs in order, plan to die, who then find a way to Houston, to the MD Anderson, and their lives are extended because of the research and the work that MD Anderson is doing, and the support that guys like Gabe. And I was doing an interview with one family last year, and they were from Florida, and they had a terminal diagnosis and told, go home, you're going to die. They had 2 young kids, and somehow they figured out that MD Anderson was another stop. And when I interviewed the family, they had said that they were so distraught. The wife was so distraught. She didn't know where they were going to stay when they came to MD Anderson. And I can't say anything other than miraculously, a text appeared on her phone that was a link to the Texas Firefighter Home. And they were able to come to the Texas Firefighter Home, get treatment, and then be well enough to go back home.
Right.
So, wow. And we get stories like that all the time. It's
I can imagine. I've got two questions real quick. When did you first get started with this entire thing? And then when did you guys start?
We started in 2014. I came on the board in 2021. On the board, but I always assisted even back in 2014 as an ambassador. I was the one that would meet the firefighters and first responders coming in since 2014. And then Irene Hickey, one of the ladies that was also helping on the operational side, she said, Gabe, I need you to come on and help me. Omero, we want to transition somebody to take his spaces to keep it going on. You're the pick. So I got drafted, and as firefighters, we're always saving people in the community, and we want to save our own.
You bet.
And it doesn't matter where you come from, or what badge you have, it's fire, police, or EMS. We want to be able to take that stress away from you and your family.
Yep. So
that's our mission, was to let's remove some of that stress from firefighters, because we all want to cure cancer. But that's where MD Anderson, they're the SMEs that do that. And like Mike said, we do get that where they're able to extend their life and feel better. Because the biggest fear for talking to firefighters, and even myself of being on the job for 24 years, is getting a diagnosis where you can't be a first responder anymore.
Right, and you never know when it's coming.
You don't know when it's coming. Everybody wants to close it healthy and be able to, and then go enjoy it. Nobody ever wants to be able to say, hey, your career enders in 5 years or 10 years.
Right.
You know, and in the fire business, we've been seeing firefighters. It doesn't discriminate. It can be a 5-year firefighter getting a very aggressive form of cancer, and it can be a 30-year-old, 40-year-old. And we've seen it. We've seen guys that are triathletes coming in, and we get them from everywhere. Virginia Beach. Yep. Mike does the videos. We do a gala every September to raise funds for the apartments and the operational costs. So Mike gets to meet some of the family members and firefighters and interview them across the country, and then we play the video at our gala every single year. Yeah. But it's a great thing to be able to do that for our brothers and sisters. I mean, that's where our passion is, to be able to see. I mean, we have them break down as soon as we open the door at the apartments, and they're amazed.
Yeah, it's a weight off their shoulder, at least for that time period that they're for the treatment.
And absolutely.
You bring up what?
Because firefighters, you know, we don't. A lot of us live paycheck to paycheck. You know,
yeah.
It's
unfortunately,
not. It's unfortunately,
but
right?
that's the reality.
It's the reality, and the part is you're trying to juggle. Firefighters have two different lives. You know, they have their fire life and their home life.
Right.
Their home life, they go and built their own home. They finally got a career. You know, that they're able to do that, establish a house, a family. You know, and then you get this diagnosis, and to juggle the home life, you know, and your fire life, and then your cancer life that goes with it, it's a lot. You know, that's three things that you're trying to juggle.
So much.
Yeah, and if we can reduce that.
Yeah, you're kind of making me think about, so one of the missions at Original Firefighter was to have a conversation about firefighters are a whole person. They're not just a third of a person where they go to the fire station, they run all the calls, they do all the things. There's a brotherhood, there's a sisterhood. Of course, they're a part of it, but there's 2/3 of your life that you're not at the firehouse, right. Hopefully. And the whole idea with Original Firefighter was to kind of tap into your off days and really kind of checking in with yourself and knowing that you've got something more than just being a firefighter. You are more than that, right? Even though it's a great thing. Yeah. But what you're kind of making me think about is that's a great mission of ours, but there are also people that on their off days, they're dealing with a major illness. They're not able to enjoy what I'm pushing, which is, hey, make sure you're out there fishing, make sure you're out camping, getting connected with nature, taking a walk in the grass, and all those things. Ride your Harley, bike. There's people out there that are struggling just to be alive another day. Yeah. I think that's what you're really driving at.
A big part of it is not letting cancer define who I am.
Right, absolutely.
And what I'm going to do. I mean, my passion. So recently I got a terminal diagnosis. I know that I won't be around in 2 years. My cancer doesn't have a cure, and the research is not to a point where they're going to be able to give me any treatment probably beyond the next year and a half. So my mission, besides the Texas Firefighter Home, is to help as many communities get ready for wildland fire, and to look at wildfire mitigation as really the tool to help that. And being in Texas, working with the Houston Fire Department helps me to feel that part of it.
Right.
I think I'm still alive today because connectedness within the fire service has given me opportunities to look at my passion and then to now really focus in on what I want to accomplish in the time I have left.
Yeah, and there's a motivation behind it to help others, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
One of the things that I really appreciate you sharing what you've just shared, that's moving and touching. Gabe, you said something a few minutes ago, I keyed in on it, where you said you're at 6 apartments, but your statistics say that you need about 8 to 10, which tells me that you need more because there are more and more people coming into this program of yours that need that help. It's a little scary to deal with the fact that the numbers are going up when we know that. What is your mission? What's your long-term, short-term future, long-term future?
So our short term is to grow to 8 to 10.
Yep.
And keep on building an operational budget, because our vision is to build a full facility where we can house about 20 families. Is our vision, and that's where we want to go, because the need keeps on growing, sadly, because of the fire service. I know we're getting better at early detection and mitigating and reduction. We're doing a good job of doing the on-scene decon, second sets of gear, but the diagnose, and it's great work. but the work of when you get that diagnosis and where to go is also very important. And that's one part that people don't see. And then the other, we call it the unanswered Mayday.
Right.
Me and him been talking about a white paper that we're going to work on because, there's the behavioral Mayday that we've gotten real good at too, of being able to bring behavioral health from being taboo and bring it to the front line, and we're bringing cancer to the front line. But now we've done good on the reduction and mitigation. So now what do I do now once I got the diagnosis?
Right.
Where do I go? Where's the advanced treatment and medication for me? And if I want to go there, where is that taking me? Because what we get is a lot of firefighters who want to just stay there at home. And sometimes they have to treat it just like a fire. You got to be aggressive on your treatment to be able to give you those years or getting healthy and curing it and being able to go back on the job. And sometimes it has to take you away from home, and that's a hard thing to do.
Oh, yeah.
Is take somebody, especially firefighters that have a young family, and pack their bags and bring them to Houston, to a city that can be 1,000 miles away, and they have nobody there.
Well, you're making me think about the fact that you take a firefighter out of their normal routine, and you'll see a firefighter that's bug-eyed, like, what have you done to me? This is not my normal routine. And obviously nothing about what we're having a conversation right now about is normal. There's nothing normal about this. Mike, your situation, it's not what we want. But we're glad that you're here.
Yeah, but it's what we signed up for too. I mean,
it is.
I knew, and I wrote the grants, 10, 15, 20 years ago, looking at our gear, our vehicles and stuff. And so I outlined every grant that I did, what our cancer risk was. I just never thought it was going to be me.
Right.
And so when it did, it really smacked me upside the head. And looking at what resources, the National Firefighter Cancer Support Network, getting connected with the Houston Fire Department for me, and then also connecting with firefighters all over the country. Every chance I get to talk to firefighters, I share my passion about the Texas Firefighter Home and how important that is, not only to me and my family, but to every firefighter who's out there. And so there was the opportunity that folks have. If this hits you in a chord, then open up your checkbook, go to the website, make a donation. It's about $20,000 a year for each apartment.
Sure.
And in the Houston area, you can imagine what the costs are. And like I said, I don't know of any other service like this. And Gabe was talking about the unanswered Maydays. And part of that unanswered Mayday is once we get a cancer diagnosis, and especially if we're taken out of the community for any length of time, we often lose that connection with our brothers and sisters that would see us on the job or on the calls. And many times they don't know how to respond. They don't know if I'm still alive half the time, or if it's okay to call, or and so we need to be talking more about that kind of compassionate care, as opposed to the machoism of the typical firefighting, to get us past that.
Well, go ahead. I know you want to say something. I want to hear what you have to say.
We got great programs, right? Like after the fire.
Yeah.
And we know how to get in the business of after the diagnosis. When we make an incident, we have an after the fire packet there in Houston Fire. Mm-hmm. We give out to the citizen that has everything in there, from the Red Cross to food, housing, and shelter. And I think that's where we need to start guiding some of our first responders. After the diagnosis, how do you communicate with them? What are the do's and don'ts? On a guide on what to do and what the resources out there for.
Yeah, guys, this conversation's been amazing. I know we could go on probably for another hour or so, but obviously we're here at FDIC. There's a lot to take in. The fact that we even had a chance to just meet with you guys are doing great things out there, and we really just want to make sure that everyone gets the message that you're sending. So thanks a lot, Gabe, Mike. Thank you for being on the Original Firefighter podcast, and we'll do more at a future date together.
Thank you for what you're doing. This is important work. I mean, just as important as what we're doing for firefighters and families, what you're doing is important as well.
We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Be safe out there. Make sure you take care of yourself, and check out Texas
Firefighterhome.org.
That's right, TexasFirefighterHome.org. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
This episode of the Original Firefighter Podcast is sponsored by Castle Contracting. Castle Contracting offers commercial and residential restoration, leading the industry in roofing, residential siding, gutters and downspouts, egress window installation, storm damage assessment and repair, and solar energy, saving you money and time. If you want to be treated like royalty, contact Castle Contracting to schedule a free inspection. Call them at 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. That's 877-512-4207 or go online and visit castleexteriors.net. Serving Illinois, Wisconsin, and Kentucky, Castle Contracting has you covered. Your home is your castle. Call Castle Contracting today. Hey everybody, Will here from the original Firefighter podcast, and it's day 2, or it's Friday, FDIC 2025. And at the podcast with us is Jared Vermeulen. He is the author of The Modern Fire Officer. That's the book right there. The Modern Fire Officer, Communicate, Motivate, and Lead. Nice, easy, good book. And Jared, why don't you tell us about yourself and the book?
Yeah, so I'm a firefighter, Boca Raton, Florida. Been there for going on 18 years, captain there for 10. Got a family of 4, me, my wife, 2 beautiful boys. They're 10 and 7, so very blessed that way. And do the captain thing at the department. Because I'm a more senior captain now, I do a lot of our final sign-offs on those coming up the ranks.
Sure.
Especially for driver and captain, but mostly for captain. So because of that, we have a system where you can do step up. So you have to fulfill a packet from our admin to say that you know these skill sets, right? And once you do that, then you can fulfill the role if captain's off on vacation, sick leave, whatever it is. So I get to do that. I get to say, okay, now you're ready to be on the street.
Right.
So in doing that, I've worked with a lot of men and women, and I learned a few things on the mentorship side. And one of them was I wasn't speaking a lot on tactics and strategy. The department is doing a very good job of really training them on those things. What I was speaking a lot on was the intangibles, which is the emotional intelligence. They were good on the street, but in the house, they were kind of like, okay, what do I do if I see this? What do I do if I have a guy who's got this type of attitude? Like, how do I motivate that person? If there's this type of conflict, how should I fix that? Or, hey, you know what? This thing scares me. This target hazard, this thing, I don't know what to do. Right. So I had a lot of one-on-ones, and I found myself saying the same things kind of over and over again. And I realized, like, hey, these are kind of common issues that a lot of people, and even I dealt with. I had to get through these things on my own, and I thought to myself, it would have been nice if someone told me all this stuff. I had to learn it the hard way.
So is the heart of your book and the passion of you yourself, is it more to communicate the emotional way, the psychological way, if you will, to lead better, to be a better, not just a better manager, but be a better leader? Yeah,
so it starts off with being a better person, so building your own foundation so that you're able to even lead, right? So if you lead yourself, and then once you can do that, other people might want to, get behind you, because they can see that, okay, this person has it together. Yes. So in there, I talk about 4 different things. They're qualities that you need to have, right? And the number one is the service mindset. Okay. That you're there to serve. Obviously, you're to serve the public. Yep. Serve the crew, right? Sacrifice. You got to understand that service is going to take a sacrifice, right? You're going to have to sacrifice your time, sacrifice your energy. You're going to have to make some hard decisions on, am I going to do this thing, or am I going to do something I want to do? Right. So I got to understand that sacrifice portion. Now, what that takes is self-control, right? Because now I have to control myself in order to do it, right? I did want to go out tonight, right? But I got to be on duty next shift. I have to do this mentorship. I have to do this training. I do whatever. I think I'll go to bed early. Right. Maybe I won't drink that coffee at 4 p.m. so I can sleep, or whatever it takes. And those little things, it's hard to do. You know what I mean? Oh, absolutely. In conjunction, like with the job that we do, it's hard to really control yourself, like in those little things constantly. It's a work in progress. And then the thing that really wraps it all up, and you've heard the word before, is humility. Because you're not going to do any of that if you're not humble, because you won't believe, you'll be too proud, right? Yeah. You won't believe that you have to do any of it. Yeah, your pride will show through. Yeah. Probably will come off as
cockiness.
Yeah.
That's pretty prevalent in the fire service to a degree.
And if you're too cocky, you're not looking to learn.
People aren't
humble
willing
people
to
learn.
That's right.
Yeah.
I want to go back to, because you basically gave 3 S's, right?
3 S's and an H.
And an H.
Yeah.
But the one about sacrifice.
Yeah.
One of the things as I was going up through the ranks was that every time you went up a notch, you not only did you sacrifice to get to that position, all the time you took to study, to do the extra things that you need to do to get there, and to give yourself the qualifications to be able to lead others. Once you achieve those ranks, say you're a captain, yes?
Yeah.
And you've already assumed a lot of responsibility, you're actually sacrificing quite a bit in the firehouse.
Yes.
Because you don't get to be the one that gets back from the call and, not to say that everybody goes and kicks back in the recliners, but it's a part of the day sometimes. And that's typically not the case.
Yes, I talk about that in the book specifically.
So you're going to give up something.
Yeah, and I say, get ready to do that, but be proud that you get to do it.
Yeah, right.
Because you're the one that's shouldering that responsibility. You signed up for it. You let the badge be pinned on your chest. Be proud of that
doing
moment.
it with a bitchy attitude is not going to be able to be very inspiring to others.
What kind of purpose and meaning are you going to get out of that?
Right.
Bitching and moaning about
That's
it.
That's right.
Take the win. You're doing something big.
Yeah.
And so those are like those 4 things. It's kind of like your foundation, but then you build upon that. And the book, which I think sets it apart from other leadership books, is there's some things in there that they don't talk about, like dealing with fear.
Yeah.
Your own fear. It's okay to be afraid. There's things that I'm scared of.
Sure.
If you don't have a good level of fear, and what you're doing, what that means is you don't have a correct level of risk assessment.
Absolutely.
If you're fearless, you're going to get someone killed or yourself, right? So the fear has to be there, but it has to be under control.
Absolutely.
But the biggest thing is people don't understand what they're afraid of. You have to pinpoint what it is. That's what I'm afraid of. I'm going to attack that straight on, train on it, train my crew on it, and so forth.
We've said on the original Firefighter podcast and other episodes, we've said this where just about anything in this profession, about every hazard, every toxic situation, all things in the fire service are trying to kill you.
Yeah.
Be honest about that. I mean, at the end of the day,
at different levels.
At different levels, but at some point, everything that we interact with has the potential, at least for serious injury. So if you don't know where the boundaries are at, if you are this fearless person that's going to just take on everything.
It's a balancing act too.
It's playing a bit of little Russian roulette, is it?
Sometimes.
It not? Yeah.
Sometimes.
So the
but
best
you can't
leaders,
let it stop you.
Best leaders know where to kind of draw the line at.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So beyond what inspired you to do this? Writing a book.
Actually, a friend of mine wrote a book, Leadership Refined by Fire, and he's the one that got me into firefighting. His is a lot more thick than this. It's very philosophical, so it's not as a simple read. His was more like a coming of age of leadership. This is like my journey, and these are the hard lessons I learned, and these are the books that I read. This is more like a down and dirty, straight to the point. You can see it's like nice and thin. Firefighter could pick it up and be like, all right, I could do this. All right.
I'm not intimidated by this book.
I don't fill it with war stories. It's just like these are the concepts, and you can employ these however it makes sense for you and your current situation. And I felt like going through promotional processes and reading some of the books, I was just kind of like disenchanted a little bit with some of the books, because I don't know if you learn like this, but as soon as I start reading a textbook, it's like someone weaponized Ambien, and I'm just like, just like straight. I start reading.
No words have been spoken truer than that.
Yeah, and then I suck at acronyms, so there's no acronyms in there because I can't remember this leadership, this all right, what was the A? Again, you know what I mean? I suck with that.
And there's so many. I mean, we're inundated with acronyms.
I know. So I was like, no acronyms,
service.
just straight to the point. Yeah. Here's a concept.
Just say the thing.
Yeah. And I think, at least with my small experience in my own department with training those people, I saw it was a value. And, I said, you know what? Why wait till the end of my career to do this thing? It was during COVID. I had plenty of time doing nothing.
Okay.
So instead of doom scrolling,
getting on all the social platforms and watching everybody dance and jiggle.
Yeah. I started instead of watching twerking, I did my own
absolutely
keyboard twerking, and did the book. And when you put it out there, you don't know how it's going to be received. Because it's kind of like your truth, and you're like, oh God, I put this thing out here. How's it gonna go? And it's been received like really well. I've been like super blessed and flattered. And I think because it just has some things in there that no one kind of talks about. Like I have a whole chapter on mental health and leadership's role in that, and my own struggle with it. A few years ago, when I hit 10 years on, I had a bit of PTS and PTSD, and I put that in the book because it's important for leaders to not only come to terms with reality that we're facing, but with your own reality. And then once you can do that, you can figure out the reality of your crew and how to deal with it.
Well, I think a good leader is someone who's willing to be vulnerable,
and that's why I put it in the book.
With their people, with those who they want to inspire and lead. If you're not open, vulnerable, a real person, they don't know really what they're buying into.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I think the fact that you've written the book, you've given a little bit of your own history and seriousness to the situation. I'm assuming your passion comes through in this book.
Yeah.
And again, I think a big part about being a leader in the fire service is that knowing, this is an ever-changing environment. It's always changing. The fire service is never stagnant.
Yeah.
It may sometimes feel like you're doing the same thing, like kind of you're in a hamster wheel, doing the repetitive thing. But the reality is that the fire service is always evolving. There's always something changing. I mean, look at gasoline-powered vehicles versus today's, what we see on the road in the EVs and the hybrids and things like that. And we never would have thought in a million years it would take dry sand and fire blankets to put out a battery operated vehicle. And here we are, and we're doing we're doing it, right? But I do want to go back to the other part about being a good leader. I think is also know that if you want others to do what you inspire them to do, and that's obviously we have a lot of guidance, SOPs, rules and regs, and things of that nature. But you have to be willing to also sometimes show them how humble you are, because I'm using that fourth category, that fourth quality. If you're willing to be the one to sometimes pick up the shop rag, and do the task, it does again, and it leads others. It shows others that you're willing to do the things with them.
I talk about that in the book, and I say that you want to be the example, not only in positivity, because that's really where that stems from. But you want to be the example in doing those small things. And I think in the book I talk about just like something as simple as handing a rookie, like a hardworking rookie, like a Gatorade, right? You find like the rookie just finished their laundry, didn't come back yet to the dryer, fold it for him. You know what I mean?
Right.
He figures out you did it. You better believe that guy is looking for ways to help somebody else, right?
Yeah.
So it just kind of builds, right? To where now, like, if you're doing that for the crew, they're like, holy crap, I got to help this guy. He just did this for me, what do I do? They're looking for stuff to do, And it's a powerful tool, and it endears them to you and your message.
How long did it take you to write the book? So
I've been putting the ideas together for a long time. And it took me, I think, about a year to really get it together, because I'm not an author. This is my first foray. Yeah.
Your name's right there.
Yeah, it is right there.
Jared Vermeulen.
Yeah, I know.
So you are an author.
I am an author now. It's a really cool thing. I'm pretty proud of myself in that way. But I'm learning all the things about being an author, right? Like not just writing the content, finding an editor, right? I did the cover art myself. So I had to get the
this was all
photography, the equipment, the lighting.
It's a good cover.
Yeah.
Simple, straightforward, very bright.
I wanted it,
pops.
Hey, pop, there it
Love
is.
it.
Just learning the anatomy of a book. Like this is the preface. This is the blurb on the back. Putting the information. Like it's got to catch the eye. I was on YouTube University, just like, how do we do this, And then trying to figure out how am I going to publish this thing. And so I was like, okay, now I'm going on Amazon. All right, what do I do? Amazon has its own issues, like, okay, it has to be this size or this print or this whatever. So it's like, crap, now I got to go back and change all this stuff. To format the books. I had to buy a formatting program to put it all in there, so it actually makes it from like a Word document into actual page format, puts like a number on the page, does all the things.
Did you keep track of how many edits you went through on this?
I don't even know. I've probably read my own book just because, you're like OCD, like, I don't know, 200, 300 times.
But the best part about that, what you just said, that you've read your own words so many times, is that it means that you get to go out, you could do a TED Talk on this. You could do any kind of
I don't know if you want to hear it, but I could do it.
Yeah, of course, But people do need to know, and I think that's something about firefighters too, is that firefighters are two things for sure. They're passionate about themselves and the career, the job that we do. Inside of themselves, I think there is an entrepreneur. Yeah. Just because so many times out in the street, we have to do so many things on the fly. We're making critical course corrections all the time. And we're coming up with inventive ways to get something done. It may be close to the SOP, but it may not be exactly the SOP.
Especially to get out of training. The most inventive
ways to get out of training for some reason, right? But they are. They're very entrepreneur-like. And that's why I think you see so many people, especially here at FDIC. I mean, look around and all the concepts and all the ideas. And what we're doing here on the podcast and what you're doing, and you can actually say now that you are an author. And that's a really cool thing. Cool. Yeah. So I think that there's others out there that look to you and they think like, well, I have an idea in my head and I'd like to write about it, and maybe I can also call myself an author.
Reach out to me.
It's not a bad thing at all. I don't know. This is very nice. I'm looking forward to reading the entire book. We went through it last night, the three of us, and just wanted to get some highlights of it. We wanted to have you on the show today. How many times have you been to FDIC?
This is my third.
This is your third time?
Yeah, I wish it was more. I waited to 15 years into my career to come. I'm like, I don't know why,
I am curious, when you had this all finished, who was the first person that you showed it to?
My wife.
Okay.
Yep. She's
Makes
the boss.
Sense. Yep.
And then my crew. I got a solid crew, man. I'm blessed.
Yeah.
And I have my immediate crew just on my truck, my driver, my firefighter, and then even my rescue. It's just super solid. They're all in, and they read it, and they gave me really good feedback that made it.
Yeah, why don't you give them a shout out?
Yeah, so we had Elisa, my driver, Chad Kozlowski, the firefighter at the time, Scott Canarazzi, especially you guys. Thank you so much. They put up with a lot of crap.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I just had the privilege to thank, as I was leaving the fire department last year, I had a chance to thank all my crew members and just really recognize that they were willing to do so many of the small details and the tasks without asking, without even,
that's a special thing.
And it was very, very nice to be able to do that and be able to have that relationship. I'm glad to know that you have that same feeling with your crew as well. The book here is The Modern Fire Officer, Jared Vermeulen, and this is the original Firefighter podcast, and we're really glad to have you.
Thank you.
All right, have a good one.
Yep.
This episode of the original Firefighter podcast is brought to you by Benny's Slots, Wine, Spirits, and Empire Gaming. With 3 locations serving the Rockford area, in Roscoe, McChesney Park at Nest, and Cherry Valley at the Harley-Davidson store, Benny's is the place with taste and enough luck to go around for everyone, provided by Empire Gaming. Each location offers fun and entertainment with weekly sports, events, drawings, and live music in a plush environment. As a side note, I recently had my retirement party this past summer at Benny's at Nest in McChesney Park, and they gave us the VIP experience all around. For the best atmosphere, for the best entertainment, head to Benny's for good drinks, good friends, and good times. Stop in at a Benny's location near you today. Hey guys, we're here at FDIC 2025. We're on Friday, and I've got Dave with me from the Ontario, Canada area.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, introduce yourself, Dave.
Yeah, hey everybody, Dave Tarini, Deputy Fire Chief for Thunder Bay Fire Rescue. We're in northwestern Ontario. For those of you stateside, that would be about a 6-hour drive straight north of Minneapolis, St. Paul.
Okay.
Yeah.
You bring up Minneapolis, St. Paul area. I've got an uncle there in Pine City, Minnesota.
Okay.
He's the mayor there.
Oh, really?
I always like to throw that out there. You know, my uncle Carl Peterson.
Yeah, he runs the town.
He runs the town in Pine City, Minnesota.
Yeah, that's awesome. Beautiful country for sure.
Well,
we love
tell us
going to
about your
Minnesota.
country. You know, the area that you're at it's got to be beautiful.
It's amazing. We live in a city of about 100 to 120,000 people.
Okay.
It's right on the shore of Lake Superior. So Lake Superior being the largest of the Great Lakes, freshwater lake, and we have a lot of really beautiful outdoor activities, hiking, biking, water sports, water activities. People spend time on Lake Superior, but believe it or not, for those familiar with the Great Lakes, it's cold. It is. That lake never really warms up. So even in July, you've got to find a shallow place where the sun's had a chance to warm the water up, or otherwise you don't go swimming.
Right.
So there's a lot of sailing and stuff that goes on and pleasure boating, but a lot of people go inland. There's a lot of inland lakes. So in Thunder Bay area, everybody has a camp, which you might refer to as a cottage. And everybody bolts out of the city on the weekends throughout the summer and heads up to camp to have fun with friends and family. So,
Sure.
it's awesome.
You bring up Lake Superior. So I did live on Lake Superior. I lived in Marquette, Michigan.
Oh, really?
All through my junior high years, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. So I went to Boscobel Middle School in Marquette, Michigan.
Okay.
And we would go down by the heat treat plant. They'd bring the coal in. They had big train tracks that went out into the water and unload the iron ore. And the heat treat plants would warm up an area, and everybody would flock to that. It had a beach and whatnot. And
that's amazing.
Who else knows what was in the water? But it's
back then we used to swim in tailings ponds, you name it.
Yeah. Lake Superior is beautiful.
Yeah.
Let's face it. It is a beautiful, beautiful lake. Yeah. So what's the challenges? So you're the deputy chief there.
Yeah.
And offline, we were talking about how you just accepted that job.
Yeah, just last summer, last August, became deputy chief for the fire service there. Yeah.
Did you come up through the department?
Yeah, I came up through the suppression ranks. So made my way up. I was a station officer, captain at a station. Had a great crew. Loved working with the guys. I was qualified to the district chief and platoon chief level, but the opportunity came up, and I kind of wanted a new challenge, and love staying busy.
Yeah.
And I am. My days fly by now, so I'm sort of seeing the other side of the fence. It's been really eye-opening.
Let me guess, you carry 2 phones now, don't you?
Yeah, I do. They're in my pocket. Yeah, you got it. I haven't.
That's always the case,
gotten
right?
smart enough to ditch my personal phone yet. But
if you got 3 bugles, you might get away with 1 phone. But as soon as you get the 4th, I'm
done.
Yeah. You're gonna carry 2 phones.
Yeah, no, it's been a challenge, but every day's a good day, man.
That's awesome. Yeah. So what is, from a firefighting aspect, what are you guys challenged with up there in Thunder Bay? What's your biggest challenges that you deal with, either in suppression or EMS, anything of that nature?
We're seeing, just like most urban centers, we're seeing quite a spike in drug use, fentanyl. Our calls for service for medical related calls have really grown in the last 3 to 4 years, and so we're getting overdose calls mixed in with VSA calls, rescue calls, but that increase in medical calls has started to, I think, wear down a lot of the trucks. We don't have separate medical responders. If there's a medical call, our pumper truck goes.
Yeah, so your fire-based EMS
truck or an engine company.
Yep.
Our pumper company will go to a medical call.
Yep.
We don't have a smaller unit with 2 fire EMTs on board to go to those. So we commit a whole truck to a medical call, and some of our trucks are running through the night going to these overdoses medical calls, and we're trying to be cognizant of that wellness aspect, making sure the guys are okay. Just that kind of exposure to that side of society, unfortunately, starts to beat guys up a little bit.
And there is
it's tough.
Yeah, there's a true fatigue there.
It is.
Some people will call it at some point in their career that there's a burnout.
Yeah.
And there's debate on is it burnout? What does that really look like?
Yeah.
Some people go really far down a rabbit hole, and they're really struggling with how much sleep deprivation they've got, how the monotonous of going out in the middle of the night over and over and over on the same type of medical call. Then they get off work, they go home, they have all the things they have to deal with at home. So it is important to check in on people. We don't want to get to that place where people are saying I'm burned out.
That's right, yeah, because it leads to that stress, and then it starts affecting, like you said, home life. All those other different factors start weighing in, and it's tough sometimes to recognize the signs as to. You're going down into a place, and it's just exposure. It's just cumulative exposure to these kind of calls, and that's where our concern from an administrative point of view is getting our guys all on board to recognize and then help each other out.
Yeah.
But also realizing that I'm not a clinician, I'm not a professional.
Right.
What we need to do is recognize and steer the person to the help that they need.
Yeah.
So we've recently partnered with a fantastic group in Thunder Bay, where we're from. They run their own psychologist support group. They're professional clinicians. And we've partnered with them with our wellness program, and they provide one-on-one supports for any of our guys that need help. So getting them sort of on retainer, and we've combined and partnered with the local EMS group in our city. The two of us have partnered in contracting this service out for all of our members, and we're starting. It's hard, right? You can't quantify it because obviously the amount of people going to visit these folks and the content is all private, confidential, but we're seeing improvements in some of the absenteeism and other things that are they're an offshoot of that burnout, right? So
well, I think that really is one of the first telltale signs is you have an individual that was always kind of like a Johnny on the spot kind of person that always there, showed up on time, always to work. Then you start to see maybe a little change. They're calling a little bit more.
That's
whatever it is, there are signs. Like you said, we're not clinicians. We're not trying to fix the brain and things of that nature. We're not trying to do that.
Yeah.
But as chief officers, it is a big responsibility to at least be mindful that some of these people out here that are working as hard as they're working, they could be struggling.
That's right.
And checking in is a big deal.
Yeah, checking in, and we used to run more peer support debriefings, but what we found was for those people who are consistently getting that phone call to go and help out a brother or sister, like that's what we do.
Yeah.
Those people were really starting to bear the brunt, like a vicarious trauma. And we're like, you know what? We're just trained to recognize. We're not trained to treat. And these people were putting the folks in that critical incident stress management team. They're putting way too much.
That's a good point.
They're putting way too much on themselves to be the solution.
Yes.
Instead of being more of an intermediary and saying, look, we've got this fellow that needs help. Let's get him the help.
Yeah.
Let's be that go-between, more of a liaison kind of a position. And so we've sort of transformed away from what's more of a traditional approach to critical incident stress management. And we're getting the professionals, and we get them involved with our stress debriefings after tough calls. So we're continually working on it, man. It's
this peer support type person is a facilitator. Not meant to be the actual lightning rod that takes all the shocks, for the situation. And that can be, like you said, that vicarious trauma. And so that's a great point. I'm glad you brought it up. Just to move on to one other quick thing, obviously you're a whole person. You're now a deputy chief. And I'm sure you got some goals for that position, but what's your off days look like? What do you do when you're just kind of hanging out?
You know what? I have
when you get them.
I have the really good fortune of having an amazing wife and a family. I've got 2 grown kids, and one of my daughter has a son, so I'm a grandfather, and we spend time with our grandson. My wife and I love to travel. So and we love to spend time outside together. So we always go to the lake, to the cottage, or camp, if you will, and invite friends and family out. We go fishing when we can. I like to go and do a little bit of bird hunting in the fall, just to get out by myself and walk a trail. And if I shoot a couple birds, great. If I don't shoot a couple, I still spent the day outside in the sun, just walking by myself, thinking, right?
Which is great therapy,
it's
there
amazing.
in itself.
So just lots of traveling with friends and family, and spending time with the wife, and It's a really good. I look forward to my days off. I find work really challenging, and I try to be as engaged as possible. But we all know at the end of the day, you go home to a happy family and a good support network. It helps get me through.
It makes life better, that's for sure.
For sure.
Hey, we really happy to have you on the show. It's been great having you here. And that's the original Firefighter podcast at FDIC. And thanks for listening. Be safe out there.